Hey, welcome back to the program, Dave.
Thank you, Don. Good morning. Good to be here.
Hey, it's great to have you here, sir. It's great to have you here. You had a rather eventful weekend last week. Oh, but hey, before we go there, Don Morgan wanted to ask you about something.
Yes. What happened at 6 Mile Falls?
Well, there's these rocks at various places in the river, and I told my crew that possibly they might need to go back to canoe school because they tended to hit every rock that was near 6 Mile Falls. Right. So we swam 5 times that day.
Oh man,
wow, 5 times.
5 times, and we still finished in 3:47, so not bad.
Yeah, that wasn't your first time out for the Kenduskeag Extreme Race,
was it? It was my first time finishing after 3 tries.
Well, see, it sounds like the crew's gotten better each time. Nicely done.
That's debatable.
So you get to the point where the Kenduskeag empties into the Penobscot, and you're thinking, well, this is what it looks like from this angle.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Ducking your head underneath the bridge or two. Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah, hey, and congratulations. That's not an easy race.
No.
Everybody likes to have fun checking things out at 6 Mile Falls, but there's a whole lot of flat water before you ever get there. And then, well, there's a fair amount of flat water after you go through 6 Mile Falls, too. I mean, it speeds up a bit, but... Whew,
and you use muscles that you never thought you had in the forearms, you know?
Yeah, who knew that paddling was such a workout, you know? It explains that whole rowing machine thing at the gym suddenly.
And that's why I gave up my canoe as my mode of transportation, and I drive a car now because, it was just like my arms were sore at the end of the day. And,
stupid rocks in the river.
Things like that.
Stuff like that happens.
Well, I knew that...
Plus, there's always a photographer from the Bangor Daily waiting to take a picture.
Out of the 300 canoes that were in the race, they take a picture of me.
We had a great laugh about that.
That was great. We saw that. Wait a minute.
Wait till we see him.
That's Slagger.
Yeah, you really like my hairdo too. Yeah.
Well, hey, that's the trouble with those candid shots, right?
Exactly.
Well, hey, your picture is going to be in the paper a whole lot more, my friend, over the course of the coming months, and that stems from what you got up to last weekend. Where were you last weekend?
Last weekend, I had the pleasure of meeting with the leadership from the Maine Green Party down in Belfast at the Belfast Public Library. We had Jill Stein, who was the presidential candidate in 2012. Yes. She was on the ballot with Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. And it was a great convention. We made some administrative type positions within the party. And then I was able to talk about basically my platform running for governor. And, people ask me why the Green Party? Why are you going with the Green Party? Well, it only makes sense. I mean, let's be real about it. If I ran as a Democrat, which I originally was, the Democrats aren't going to come behind me. If I ran as an independent against Elliott Cutler, with the amount of money that he's going to be thrown in, then I want to talk about the amount of money in public campaigns for public office.
Yes.
But also, I only need 2,000 signatures versus 4,000 compared, if I was running as an independent. So for me, it only made sense to go with the Green Party. Their values line up with my values. But I want to make it perfectly clear. A lot of people are saying, well, he's running as a Native American and, he's going to be going that way. Well, that's absolutely wrong. I am a Maine citizen, and as you know, I spoke up about my rights as a Maine citizen in the House.
Indeed.
And that, Article 1 of the Maine Constitution says we are all created equal in the eyes of God.
I don't see signs, Paul LePage, vote Caucasian for governor.
Exactly.
And so any suggestion that you would use your race or your ethnic background as an issue, I think is just off base. It should be completely out of bounds. It's a non-issue, or it should be.
Well, yeah, and Don. I grew up in Maine, and I grew up like any other kid in Maine. I mean, we played in the streams, we went fishing. I didn't feel any different when I was growing up as a kid. Mm-hmm. As I got older, then I realized, hey, maybe things aren't as fair as they could be.
Yes.
But I'm not going into this with a social justice type of attitude. I'm going into it as what's best for the people of Maine, and also to build the public confidence in our elected officials. Because, as you know, right now, all my time in Maine, I've never seen the state as divided as it is.
Boy, it's ugly, isn't it?
It's absolutely terrible, and there's really no need of it. I think at the heart, Maine people are good people, and they don't want to continue to be adversaries in battle. And I think it's time for us to come together as a state. We can do great things when we come together. We certainly don't need a tragedy like Boston to become Maine strong.
Yes.
Like Boston has become Boston strong.
Yes.
We can become Maine strong just by being Maine people and caring for each other. And as I said many times, I do not have all the answers to the state problems, but I do want to surround myself with people that do.
Yeah.
I think with my background in education, as you know, I'm a student in the School of Policy and International Affairs.
Yes, absolutely. Jim Sedley, the director of that school, a regular guest on the program.
Yes, and that's my second master's degree. I got my first master's at Maine, Orono, in Maine Studies. So I feel I have a really good, round base of how Maine operates. I met with former Secretary Bill Cohen last Monday, and we had a great conversation a couple weeks before then. I met with former Senator George Mitchell, and we talked about some of the issues like the amount of money that is coming into the political campaigns.
It's obscene. I mean, we saw it right here in Maine last fall.
Exactly.
And we're talking about state races here. We're talking about a race for the Maine House of Representatives or the Maine State Senate, where literally, in the House we're seeing tens and tens of thousands of dollars. In the state Senate, hundreds of thousands of dollars to secure a Maine state Senate seat.
Yeah.
It's obscene.
It really is. And, the thing is, these public offices, like whether you're running for state rep or governor, they're open to everyday Maine people. The legislature is made up of Maine, it's a citizens legislature made up of everyday people. I do think that you have to have some understanding of government and how government works.
True.
And you should also have some education around policy and government if you're going to be running for high office. But the thing is, the amount of money that is coming into politics, I think Maine people are saying, hey, we don't want someone that comes in here and buys their seat or their office.
Yes.
And, like I said, I don't come from old money. I'm a regular Maine guy. I like to think that I'm fairly smart when it comes to certain policy issues and issues with the state, how to bring revenue into the state. People often talk about, why is Maine so poor? Well, we got to change that. Why we always have a budget shortfall, and we need to change that. And how do we change that? We change that by bringing bright minds in and also sharing ideas. Sharing ideas that taking advantage of some of the resources, but we also got to change our thinking around technology. You and I grew up in an era where we didn't have PlayStations, and
I was going to say the most advanced thing I had was my electric football, not electronic, but electric. There's this little thing, you turn a knob and the whole thing would vibrate, and that's how the players moved. That was
right, or one of those Simon games. That was it.
The height of technology.
But we are in an information age, and we also have so much technology available to us. Why aren't major companies like IBM, Honeywell coming to Maine? And we got to make it an environment where these type of companies want to come to our state. But we got to make it a friendly state. We got to make it a profitable state. There's many, many issues that we need to address to bring businesses to Maine.
To a large degree, I think maybe it's just a question of, recognizing that is a direction our state needs to move in and shining a very bright light on some things that are already going on in the state. I had the opportunity to visit a virtual reality lab up on the campus of the University of Maine, and some of the things that they are doing up there are just amazing, and they are drawing the attention of some very large companies, people who recognize the use, the application for some of the technology that they're developing there, and that's little old Orono, Maine. It's just a fine example of how our state can leapfrog a whole bunch of others and find themselves right near the top when it comes to any number of technology initiatives.
Well, you look at the Foster Innovation Center up at the UMaine campus, and also they just opened up a new media center.
Yes.
And, these are wonderful opportunities for future students and current students. But my biggest thing is, where are they going after graduation?
Yeah.
Why are they fleeing the state? and it doesn't need to be. So we need to start attracting companies where Maine graduates can stay in Maine, and we need to start shifting our thinking from maybe tourism, as you know, was always going to be part of our economic engine. But we also have to have a place for our graduates, marine sciences, the coast of Maine. We have a lot of opportunity there. Engineering with the Wood Composite Center up at the UMaine campus. There's all kinds of opportunity. But the thing is, we need to start thinking outside of pulp and paper and other industries that have been, the long-term economic engine for Maine. And we need to start thinking about really either, green technology or, environmental technology, whether it be tidal power. But we need to start thinking about how to bring technology here to Maine. It's here, but we need to expand it.
Yes. Hey, that's the voice of David Slagger, who's joining me in the studio this morning. David looking to, be the governor of Maine. It's 7:19 right now. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Right back for some more conversation with David Slagger after this. Welcome back, David.
Thank you. Also want to mention I am with the Green Party. I switched from Democrat to the Green Party, and it's a good fit for me.
I think it is a good fit for you. You mentioned the notion that your values most in line with those espoused by the Green Party, as opposed to remaining in the Democratic Party, or you ran as an independent as well, and that creates its own set of difficulties. Hey, congratulations to you for for becoming a member of the Green Party and for being so well received by them. I think they recognize something in you that they think will serve the party well as serving the people of Maine well. And
right.
Congratulations for that.
Well, thank you. And, part of my platform, obviously, is to bring people together. I've seen too much division down in Augusta, and, frankly, it's been borderline childish with insults and, just the discourse is terrible.
Yes.
And there's no need of it in public office. At the state convention this past weekend, I talked about bringing people together, and that we do not need to be adversaries, and that we need to work together. If we do not come together as a state, we're going to continue to have these problems. Now, we can disagree, but we need to disagree that's constructive versus destructive. When we start slinging mud and personal attacks and insults, that is not helpful. That's destructive. And we need to bring it where it's constructive. I know I'm going to be put on the hot seat, and I know people are going to, ask me all kinds of questions about either my background. They can even ask me questions personally. I'm happy to answer them. I come from great tragedy and great success. It's kind of a balance of both. And I'm happy to talk about all of those, because I think people want to know their candidate. They want to know where he comes from, what he stands for, and these kind of things. And to bring back the public trust, that I think is what is sorely needed in Maine.
Yeah, that can be an uphill battle of sorts. You're right in that the political discourse in the state of Maine has absolutely tanked. It's gotten very ugly. It has been, and members of both the political parties have mentioned it before. It's, Washington style politics coming home to Maine. And I think one of the most discouraging things about that is that it's almost, it's accepted. It's a foregone conclusion that politics in Washington is an absolutely ugly thing that you just don't want to be a part of. And it needs to be addressed in D.C., but it needs to be addressed at the state level as well before it devolves any further.
Oh, absolutely. I don't see what I've seen down in the legislature is that it's constantly us versus them, Democrats versus Republicans. And there's only, I think, 2 independents down there that could actually think on their own without party influence, which is a good thing. I think Joe Brooks and Ben Chipman.
Yep.
Fine gentlemen. Joe's a great man. I don't know if you've had him on the show. But
Yeah, no, Joe's been on the show a number of times. Of course, he's currently serving on the taxation committee, and they've got all kinds of work going on this session. So.
Right. And, and Joe's another a true Mainer. I believe he's born and raised in Winniport. Could be wrong. But, a good guy, and he's got great ideas. He's been in the House quite a long time. But, we need to start working together, crossing the aisle, and doing what's best for Maine people. I don't often hear this term called fair and equitable. It's always their side or, the other side. And it doesn't need to be. And, Don, I do not, like I had mentioned before, do not have all the answers, but I do have some ideas about bringing revenue into the state. If that seems to be our biggest problem, then we need to find ways to generate revenue. And I have some great ideas going to be laying out on my campaign website. That campaign website is David Slagger at .us.
DavidSlagger.us.
Right.
That sounds pretty simple. Even I can find that.
Yes, it's pretty simple. All lowercase. And we also have, we just put up our GoDaddy website, and I'll be registering today when I go back down to Augusta for Welcome Back Day for all the former legislators.
Yeah, hey, you spent time in Augusta as the elected representation for the Holton Band of Maliseets, correct?
Right.
But of course, that's not a seat within the House that actually has an opportunity to vote on stuff.
Well, yeah, and I've said my opinion on that many times in the press and stuff, and not to beat a dead horse, but let's talk about Article 1 of the Maine Constitution. Are all men and women created equal in the eyes of God? That's what Article 1 states. And I often like to ask some of our public officials down in Augusta, could you repeat Article 1 of the Maine Constitution for me? Maybe I'll be
blank stare.
Blank stare.
Yeah.
But if we're going to actually implement that, then maybe we need to look at tribal representatives. I couldn't even get our names put in alphabetical order like everybody else. So, of course, I've mentioned over and over again that it was humiliating, and I would not go back, and that's why I didn't go back. But I'm a Maine citizen, and I have good ideas. I'm born and raised in Maine. I don't come from old money. I'm a regular guy. I grew up in Maine, spent a little bit of time in Massachusetts when my parents did that traditional thing that we do in Maine, the D. The D.
Yes, that happens. It happens.
Yes. But, for the most part, I really understand Maine people. I understand there's going to be pushback and that people aren't always going to agree with me, and that's healthy. Disagreement is healthy as long as it's constructive. When it becomes destructive, it's not healthy. And, boy, I've had my finger wabbed, people's fingers waved in my face more than once about not only who I represent, but also because I'm an Indian, but I want to make it clear I'm a Maine citizen. I just happen to be Native American.
Excellent. Well, David, this has been fun.
Yeah. I always like coming back, and in the coming months, I hope to be invited back again. And talk about some of the issues. I'm looking forward to the debates. And
I hope you're allowed to participate.
Well, I think so. I think we're gonna.
How can they not? Right?
Well, they can't. And the thing is, I think I can contribute quite a bit to it. And I also like to. I think all of us, including myself, every now and then need a nice big piece of humble pie. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I'm a pie lover myself. I've eaten my fair share of the old humble pie.
Yes.
Well, hey, listen, have a great time down in Augusta today at Welcome Back Day. I'm sure you'll be very well received down there, and I look forward to having you back on the program again. Once again, the website, davidslagger.us. We'll put a link up on the Facebook page.
Thank you, Don.
7:30. That means news, sports, and weather coming up.